It was entertaining. I mean, it was like a prize fight.
Okay, let me ask you this question. We've only got 30 seconds here. Will you watch the next one?
Oh, my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah, you were that entertained by. Are you going to have popcorn for the next one ready to go?
Yes, I actually eat spicy pumpkin seeds as my snack at night. So I will have a whole bowl of those.
Well, got a really nice text message the other day from MA2. Said, Dave, I wish you would watch the debates because I would like to hear your take. Even as I completely agree that it's a complete waste of time for those of us who pay attention. The debates are for the mind-numb, short bus, window lickers who have yet to reach a sure-footed conclusion. And perhaps you could reach some of them. That wasn't all he had to say. That was just the cool part. The rest of it was just nice, and I appreciated it. I told him that. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know, man. I know the debates were a couple of days ago now, and we've all had a little bit of time to let it marinate in our heads. We've all had a little bit of time to think about things and react to things. And survey says virtually nobody changed their minds because of the debate. In point of fact, this debate really has only served one function, and that is it has increased or entrenched the partisan divide, made it even worse. And the proposed changes in formats that are being thrown out there will make no difference in that whatsoever. It doesn't matter what format you'll use. Well, it does, but none of the formats that are being proposed as somehow or another salvation for these debates are going to make any difference whatsoever. None at all. So, really, in what I hope will be the last time I ever comment on a presidential debate, I know there's the possibility that in the future something miraculous might happen, and I might need to actually say something. That's why I put probably on that little title card. But in the event that this is the last time, I would ask the simple question: what possible reason is there for having these debates? Now, I'm serious when I ask this question. Why do we even have them? I guess if you listen to some people, the answer is, well, Dave, we need to get an idea of what their positions are on the particular issues, and the voters need to hear from them. And to that I say, where the hell are these voters? In 1850? Because really, in the modern era, in the 21st century, if you don't already know what Donald Trump's position is on the issues, or Joe Biden's position on the issues, or Kamala Harris's position on the issues versus Mike Pence's position on the issues, I say this with love, you're a moron. There's no way that you don't know what their positions are, unless you're just willingly saying to yourself, you know what, I'm going to fold my arms and I'm going to huff and puff, and I'm not going to make up my mind until they get on that stage and debate. And I call hogwash on that. There might be a few of those people, but there aren't very many of them. Statistically, it's probably not relevant. So why do we even have these debates? What purpose do they actually serve? And the answer should be pretty obvious to us. Even to me, it should be pretty obvious that the answer has nothing to do with substantive debates about national policies or even foreign policy. It has nothing to do with who's better qualified to run this country. And for the record, neither of them. And in fact, I stand by what I've said all along. The single biggest disqualifier for being president of the United States is that you want to be president of the United States. That put aside, the obvious answer here is bread and circuses. We get in front of these debates, and what do we get? We get a bunch of promises of free stuff. This applies more to the party primary debates, but free stuff, you Roman citizens. Citizens, I give you free stuff. And of course, the smell of blood. I'm not kidding. The smell of blood. We love fights. And ever since boxing has kind of faded away and MMA has turned out to be weird, we don't really have anything to take the place of the big heavyweight fight. We don't really have anything like that anymore. But now comes along the presidential debates. By God, we get to go watch two 70-year-old plus white guys who probably need help getting in and out of the bathroom throw insults at each other. And the possibility is that, I guess, one might stroke out on the stage. I don't know, but maybe they'll take swings at each other. Been known to happen in the past, distant past. That smell of blood in the water has us tuning in because it's like watching NASCAR, folks. It really is. And I know some of you are going to get mad at me about this, but why do people watch NASCAR? It isn't to watch cars go in circles. It's the wrecks. It's the chance that someone might flip that car 27 times and then still walk away. It's the crash, bang, smash them up, put them back again. It's the wrecks. It's the train wreck. It's the possibility that these two candidates might tear into each other. That's the only thing we're watching for. And it's just more example to me of the decline of Western civilization. The language we use towards one another. I love the show Fargo, the TV show, which is kind of weird because I didn't really like the movie that much, but I love the TV show. And again, if you've watched it, great. If you don't, okay. Season 4 just dropped, the first 2 episodes. And I caught the first episode last night. And it was fascinating to me because it's set in 1950 in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. And the use of language is remarkable. There's a couple of characters. Chris Rock is in this, and he's doing a fantastic one episode in, and it's great. And his right-hand man, his business partner, is a guy who's named Dr. Senator. That's his name. And they've gone to a bank in Kansas City, or St. Louis, one of the two. And it's a white bank, and of course, they're African-American, and so they're trying to convince this white banker to invest in their billion-dollar idea, which I'm not going to give it away. And he introduces his partner, Dr. Senator, and the old white banker says, "What are you a doctor of?" He says, "No, that's my name, Dr. Senator. It was my mother's idea." And he says, "Well, what was your mother's name?" The guy looks at him and says, "Ma'am." The language we use towards one another has so degenerated, and it was so on example in this debate. And yeah, I watched bits and pieces and replays of it, referring to each other as Donald, A-man, whatever, clown. We're talking about the two people who want to be the president of the United States, who want to be in the highest office in our land, the most powerful person probably in the entire world, at least certainly the free world, right? And they can't even speak to each other in a language that is respectful. It's not demurring to say sir or ma'am or those kinds of things or be polite to people. It's respectful. And we can't even get that in a debate. And yet somehow or another, we think we're going to get substantive debate out of all this. You go watch that Fargo season 4, especially that first episode. You'll see what I'm talking about. The language is so much more respectful, even between rival gangs who hate each other and are about to murder each other. Bizarre and amazing. Kind of what I remember from my youth. The way we talked to each other. The Democrats last week released their post-Trump laws that they're going to try to get passed to reform the presidency, don't you know? Constitution, Article 2, no, we don't care about that. We don't think the president should be allowed to do pardons without our permission. Constitution doesn't say that, but we're going to pass a bill that says it anyway. And you should read the bill. It's amazing. You should read their fact sheet on it. It never once refers to President Trump. It refers to, quote, Trump did this, unquote. Trump did that, unquote. That's the Democrat Party of the United States. That's the Speaker of the goddamn House. Pardon my French. Talking like that about the highest office in the land. We don't have any respect for each other. And you put two people that don't have any respect for each other in front of groups of people that don't have any respect for each other. And what do you expect to have happen? Exactly, precisely what happened. And everybody tuning in knew that was what's going to happen. Why? Because we want to be entertained. We want to watch. Are you not entertained? That's pretty much the gist of the whole thing, isn't it? Now, lest you think I have no solutions to this, I do. My primary solution is the presidential fear factor debates. But I think the fact that these guys are 70 years old plus probably kind of destroys that. I don't think we need to be dangling people off bungee cords who are 70 years old. They might have heart attacks, and while in the long run that might be better for the country, who knows? But I think we'd have some medical issues with that. But in the short run, I have a better idea. And like most of my better ideas, it comes from history. Back in the 1850s, two men were running for senator from the state of Illinois. One was really tall, one was really short and round. Tall and thin, short and round. And there were grave issues dividing the nation at that time. We'd never been more divided as a people, you know. And those two men agreed to hold a series of debates, 7 of them, as a matter of fact. They ran for this seat, the Senate seat from Illinois. And they had what were then known as the Lincoln-Douglas debates, which is weird that they call them that, because Lincoln lost the election. So they should be the Douglas-Lincoln debates. But history tends to remember the winners, and ultimately, Stephen Douglas, though he won the Senate seat in the 1850s from Illinois, turned out to be wrong about just about everything. And Lincoln would go on to save the Union. In the format of these debates that they had, there were no questions. There were no moderators. None of that. These two men stood in front of a crowd together. 6 feet apart, probably, because of COVID. And whoever was designated first. Now, the way they did this was Douglas was the incumbent, so in the first one, he went first. In the second one, Lincoln went first. Third one, Douglas went first, back and forth. And they had broad topics. So, like, the first debate, the topic will be slavery. The second debate, the topic will be the economy. And that's all that we were going to talk about. We're not going to talk about anything else. And the format went like this: 1 to 1.5 to 0.5. Now, in their particular case, I don't think it would work today. But in their case, the incumbent, the first debate, Douglas would speak for an hour on whatever the subject was. Unless you think an hour is a long time for a politician to speak, remember the words of Woodrow Wilson. He was asked one day how long it takes him to get ready for a speech. And he said, "It depends on how long you want me to talk for. If I'm to speak for 10 minutes, I need a week to get ready. If I'm to speak for 20 minutes, I need 3 days to get ready. And if I'm to speak for an hour or more, I'm ready now." After the first person went for an hour, the second person would have 1.5 hours of rebuttal. This is where the esteemed senator is wrong. This is what I would propose we do. And this is why. And of course, given that the fact that this was the 19th century, the language was much more flowery and it was much more involved and much more detailed, because you got to fill an hour and a half. And when that hour and a half was done, then the original speaker, the first person, would get a half an hour to rebut that. And you could still do this. I wouldn't recommend doing an hour, hour and a half, half hour. Maybe half an hour, 15 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, 15 minutes to respond, something along those lines. But keep that ratio, 1.5, 0.5. And keep it to the point where, again, during my time, you don't talk, and during your time, I don't talk. But I will stand there and listen respectfully to what you have to say. There will be no questions, no moderator, except someone keeping time. And beyond that, I don't know, maybe we could flip a coin to start it, see who goes first. I don't think it would work any better today because the fact is that we got people that don't respect each other in any way, shape, or form. Think about that for just a minute. I don't care who you are, Jimmy Carter, Donald Trump, Abraham Lincoln, with the exception of George Washington, there is a singular man who has been president of the United States that didn't have to work hard to get there. And you may think they're idiots. You may think they're dumb. You might not like them. You may think lesser of them. But you know what? Even Millard Fillmore managed to get there. That's deserving of some respect, isn't it? Some modicum of appreciation for the job this guy was willing to do. You know how hard it is to get people to be officers in nonprofits these days and in veterans organizations? We got 250 freaking members in my organization. We can't get anybody to stand up and say, yeah, I'll take that on. There ought to be some respect for this guy that became president of the United States, or vice president of the United States, even though that's a little bit easier. And the language that they use ought to reflect that. But until and unless either side is willing to do that, unless either side is willing to acknowledge that, guess what? Nothing's going to change, folks. Nothing is going to change. And I don't care what format they use. I don't care who's the moderator. I don't care whether they can turn off microphones or... You don't think Donald Trump can't out-yell a dead mic? You don't think Joe Biden can't speak loud enough that a dead mic, you won't hear what he's saying? Come on, people. Pull your heads out. You're not thinking at all. But of course, the problem is, that's what we want. That's what we want. That's what we want. Why? Because are we not entertained? Frankly, we'd be better off just giving them a couple of sticks and let them whack at each other for an hour. We'd be the ratings would be through the roof, and we'd get just about as much information from that as we did from the debates the other night. Frankly, there's no point in even calling them debates because they're not. They're just bread and circuses. Here's free stuff. Here's some blood. Enjoy.